If there's one thing a narcissist cannot bear, it's being overlooked. For others, the absence of attention might be a minor annoyance, but for a narcissist, it strikes a much deeper chord. Their entire psychological makeup relies on a delicate balance of external validation. When they lack a consistent source of what psychologists term narcissistic supply, the carefully constructed facade they show the world begins to fall apart. As that facade crumbles, what remains is the haunting emptiness they dread confronting. This reliance on outside affirmation is not merely a trivial trait. It is a core aspect of how a narcissist sustains their identity. In truth, their sense of self is not rooted in their internal world. It is reflected back to them through the eyes of others. Thus, when you withdraw your attention, you are not just hurting their feelings, you are jeopardizing their very existence. The pain runs far deeper than any words could inflict, plunging them into a state of profound inner chaos. What makes this particularly poignant is that it is the one thing they cannot control. A narcissist will wield every tactic available to manipulate you: guilt, charm, intimidation, but none of these strategies hold any power if you choose to disengage. That choice, that act of indifference, inflicts a devastating blow to their psyche. It renders them insignificant. In the end, it's a lonely and desperate struggle, one that leaves them grappling with a void they cannot fill. Consider the idea of dedicating your entire life to building a deceptive persona, something extravagant, impressive, and meticulously curated, only to have it met with apathy. It's excruciating. Here's why this affects them so deeply. Narcissists feel they must be the focal point to have any worth. If you're not responding, if you're not boosting their ego, they perceive themselves as insignificant. Their experience of the world differs greatly from yours. For most individuals, identity is grounded in intrinsic qualities: your values, your character, and the connections you foster. In contrast, a narcissist's identity is completely reliant on external validation. It hinges on how others perceive and reflect them. When you withhold that validation, you thrust them into an identity crisis. They become frantic, desperately trying to regain control. And if they fail, their facade starts to crack, exposing the insecurity and shame they strive to conceal. This withdrawal of attention goes beyond simply ignoring their calls or avoiding arguments. It represents a profound internal change, a choice to stop letting their actions dictate your emotional well-being. Narcissists excel at creating emotional turmoil because it keeps you focused on them. If you're always on the defensive, justifying your actions, or seeking their approval, you remain ensnared in their game. However, the moment you choose not to engage, you reclaim your power. What they truly despise is when you pull away your attention, as it strips them of their power to shape your reality. Narcissists thrive on manipulating the truth. They gaslight, twist stories, and make you doubt your own perceptions. But when you take a step back and refuse to engage, their grip on your world crumbles, and nothing terrifies them more than losing that control. You might wonder why this tactic is so effective. It cuts deep into their greatest fear, the fear of being unseen. Beneath the facade of grandeur, many narcissists harbor a profound sense of worthlessness. This emptiness drives their relentless quest for admiration, a futile effort to escape the void within. When you cease to feed that insatiable need, you compel them to face the emptiness they have long evaded, and they will go to great lengths to avoid that confrontation. Often, when they sense you withdrawing, their behavior intensifies. This reaction isn't born from any genuine care for you. It stems from their inability to bear the thought of losing control. It's a tragic cycle, one that leaves both parties in a state of despair. You may notice them becoming more aggressive, more charming, or increasingly desperate to draw you back into their orbit. This behavior isn't a testament to their strength. Rather, it highlights their profound weakness. Their panic lays bare how deeply they depended on you to shore up their fragile sense of self. When you refuse to be that anchor, their carefully constructed facade begins to crumble. Yet, it's vital to remain resolute. The instant you re-engage, you relinquish that power back to them. Narcissists are adept at seizing emotional vulnerabilities. If they detect that you still care, if they catch even a flicker of your emotional investment, they will exploit it to regain control. True liberation lies in a steadfast commitment to your own reality, a refusal to let their manipulations draw you back into their tumultuous world. Perhaps the most poignant truth is this: by withdrawing your attention, you reclaim your autonomy. You step away from the roles they imposed on you: the admirer, the scapegoat, the emotional caretaker, and you begin to write your own story. The narcissist may spiral into panic, But that turmoil is not your burden to bear. Your focus must remain on your own growth, your own values, and your own sense of reality. In the end, the most effective way to wound a narcissist is not through revenge or anger, but through your indifference, the bittersweet realization that sometimes the greatest act of self-preservation is to simply let go. When you finally reach a point where their opinions, manipulations, and judgments no longer have any sway over you, that's when their power truly crumbles, and you can taste the bittersweet freedom that comes with it. A narcissist cannot bear the thought of losing control. It's not just a preference for them, but a desperate need. Control is the fragile framework they rely on to maintain a semblance of order in their chaotic inner world, where their self-image hangs by a thread. Without it, they are forced to confront the unsettling truth of their own disarray, a reality they will go to great lengths to evade. By setting firm boundaries, you strike at the very heart of their psychological existence. It's not just an annoyance, it's a profound threat. Boundaries signify something unbearable to a narcissist. They imply that you are not merely an extension of their will, not just a pawn in their game. They reveal that you possess your own thoughts, values, and the ability to make choices free from their influence. This notion is deeply unsettling for them, as they fundamentally believe that others exist solely to fulfill their desires. When you challenge that belief, when you assert your independence, you shatter the illusion of their control. But why does this shake them to their core? It all comes down to how narcissists navigate their emotional landscape. Unlike most, who reflect on their pain, they are left adrift, unable to confront the very emotions they seek to suppress. In this struggle, the weight of their own emptiness becomes painfully evident. They ponder certain questions: what makes it clear that you are not under their control? You dismantle the illusion of their superiority. But why does this impact them so deeply? It boils down to how narcissists manage their emotional landscape. Most individuals, when faced with emotional distress, tend to reflect. They ask themselves, what am I feeling? Why am I reacting this way? What does this pain signify? And how can I resolve it? Although this process can be challenging, it is crucial for psychological development. However, narcissists either do not or cannot engage in this kind of self-reflection. Doing so would mean confronting a truth they find intolerable: that beneath their inflated self-image lies a deep sense of inadequacy. Rather than facing this reality, they project their emotional struggles onto others. Their pain becomes someone else's issue. Their need for reassurance is fulfilled by the compliance of those around them, and they maintain this dynamic primarily through control. When you establish a boundary, you refuse to be part of that dynamic. You assert, I am accountable for myself, and you are accountable for yourself. This creates a significant disruption in their psychological balance. Suddenly, they can no longer transfer their internal chaos onto you, and without that external outlet, they are left to confront their own disordered mind. This is why narcissists often respond with intense anger or manipulative charm when faced with a strong boundary. It's not merely the boundary that offends, it's the threat it poses to the very foundation of their emotional control. When you start to enforce these boundaries, a chilling pattern emerges. Initially, the narcissist will test the waters, probing for any sign of weakness. If that fails, they escalate their tactics, wielding guilt, manipulation, or even overt aggression to wear you down. But beneath this sinister dance lies a darker truth. Their desperation is a reflection of their dependence. Despite their grandiose facade, their power hinges entirely on your compliance. The moment you refuse to engage in their twisted game, the mask begins to shatter. Here lies the crucial point: your boundaries must be unyielding. Narcissists thrive in the shadows of ambiguity. If your limits are vague, inconsistent, or easily circumvented, they will exploit every crack. Only clear, firm, and non-negotiable boundaries speak to their twisted understanding. When you uphold these boundaries, when you stand resolute without explanation or hesitation, you send a chilling message: I will not be your puppet. Yet, there's a deeper, more haunting consequence that transcends your relationship with a narcissist. Each time you assert a boundary, you reclaim fragments of yourself that may have been lost in the dark labyrinth of their manipulation. You begin to redefine your existence on your own terms. Your thoughts sharpen. The emotional energy once drained by their chaos is redirected toward your own ascendance. Most importantly, you start to trust yourself again, awakening from the nightmare of their control. The grim reality is that countless souls entwined with narcissists find their trust shattered after enduring relentless gaslighting, harsh criticism, and insidious undermining. You start to question the very fabric of your existence. Establishing boundaries can be the lifeline that restores that trust. Each boundary stands as a testament to your self-worth, a chilling proclamation that your needs, values, and experiences hold weight. Yet, many tremble at the thought of setting these boundaries, fearing that it will incite the narcissist to unleash even more vicious retaliation, a fear that, in some cases, is all too real. When their grip begins to loosen, many narcissists will resort to darker, more manipulative tactics to drag you back into their suffocating embrace. But here lies the crucial truth. Their escalating fury is not a reflection of your frailty. It is a stark indication of your burgeoning strength. The more they lash out, the more evident it becomes how deeply they depended on your compliance. While this may feel unsettling in the moment, it is also a powerful affirmation that you are clawing your way out of their clutches. It's vital to grasp that boundaries are not about controlling the narcissist's actions. That is a futile endeavor. Boundaries are about delineating what you will and will not endure. You cannot alter their nature, but you can decisively change the space they occupy in your life. This is where your true power resides. You are no longer a passive victim, waiting for their respect or hoping for their transformation. Instead, you take charge of safeguarding your own well-being, a strength they can never strip away from. Ultimately, the most profound act of defiance against a narcissist isn't fueled by anger or a desire for revenge. It lies in your quiet refusal to be manipulated. By establishing firm boundaries, you shatter their intricate web of control, forcing them to confront a truth they've evaded for so long. They are not all-powerful. Their influence is merely a facade, and without your acquiescence, they are left utterly vulnerable. It's crucial to remember that you are not accountable for their emotions, their insecurities, or their insatiable need for dominance. Your responsibility lies solely with yourself, and when you embrace that truth, you reclaim the freedom that has always belonged to you. Narcissists feed on attention. It is their lifeblood, their currency, and the fragile foundation of their self-worth. This dependency is known as narcissistic supply, the admiration, validation, or even fear they extract from those around them. Without it, they are confronted with the very feelings they strive to bury: a profound sense of emptiness, inadequacy, and insignificance. This is why your indifference can be so devastating to them. It's not merely that they dislike being overlooked. It's that your lack of response pierces the delicate illusion they've built around their own importance. When you stop reacting, when their words fail to stir any emotion within you, you dismantle their entire psychological structure. Narcissists depend on their ability to provoke, and in your silence, you reveal the hollowness of whether your response is one of anger or submission. It reveals that they still wield power over your emotional landscape. If they can ignite your fury, they maintain their grip. If they can coax an apology from you, they remain the masters. If they can instill doubt within you, they continue to reign supreme. But when you turn a cold shoulder, when you refuse to play their game, their influence begins to unravel like a fraying thread. It's as if you've yanked the ground from beneath them, causing the carefully constructed facade they've built to shatter into pieces. What makes your indifference particularly torturous for a narcissist is that it reflects back their deepest fear, their own insignificance. At their core, many of them are tormented by the unsettling notion that they are inconsequential, that without the validation of others, they are nothing but shadows. This dread is so unbearable that they will resort to manipulation, deceit, and even the destruction of relationships to escape facing it. Your indifference is not merely a withdrawal of attention, it is a bold defiance against their delusion of being the focal point of your existence, a truth they are woefully ill-equipped to confront. In the silence of your indifference, they are left to grapple with the darkness of their own irrelevance, a fate they cannot bear. Certainly, finding indifference is far more challenging than it seems, especially after being entangled with a narcissist. Your emotional reactions have been molded by their actions. They provoke, and you respond. This cycle is deeply rooted, and breaking free from it demands not only determination, but also a profound change in how you perceive yourself and your self-worth. You must learn to recognize that your emotional energy is precious, and squandering it on someone who only seeks to manipulate you is a painful form of self-betrayal. This journey isn't about stifling your feelings. It's about reclaiming your right to choose where those feelings are directed. Indifference doesn't mean you cease to care about your dignity or well-being. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It signifies that you refuse to allow the narcissist to control your emotional landscape. When they hurl insults, it no longer defines your worth. It merely highlights their own insecurities. When they attempt to guilt you, it exposes their fear of losing grip, not your shortcomings. And when they try to drag you back into their turmoil, you can see it for what it truly is, a desperate effort to regain the power they sense slipping away. There is a bittersweet liberation in reaching a place where their words and actions no longer hold sway over you. And it's important to remember that this is a destination you can arrive at. It's a journey that requires time and kindness towards yourself. It involves allowing yourself to mourn the shattered dreams you once held for a different kind of connection. It means acknowledging the grim truth that no amount of effort can alter their essence, and it requires you to redirect your energy toward your own evolution instead of being engulfed by their chaos. One of the most chilling realizations you'll encounter as you embrace indifference is how eerily predictable their behavior becomes. Narcissists often fancy themselves as uniquely clever or manipulative, yet their emotional patterns are hauntingly cyclical. They will resort to the same sinister tactics: provocation, guilt, manipulation. These are the only weapons in their arsenal. When these strategies fail, their desperation becomes palpable, a frantic scramble to ensnare you back into their dark orbit, revealing just how reliant they have been on your emotional tether. But here lies the crucial truth: their reactions are not your burden to bear. One of the most insidious traps when entangled with a narcissist is the delusion that you must manage their emotions. This is a lie. You are not accountable for their insecurities, their fury, or for upholding the facade that they are more significant than they truly are. Your sole duty is to safeguard your own mental and emotional well-being. When you master the chilling art of indifference, you break free from their emotional maze, emerging into the cold light of clarity. You cease engaging in a game you cannot win, and even more importantly, you start to reclaim the aspects of yourself that were overshadowed. Your energy returns to you. Your thoughts are no longer dominated by how to handle their next outburst. Initially, you experience a profound sense of freedom, not just liberation from them, but the ability to live your life based on your own principles. The irony is that this newfound freedom is what torments a narcissist the most, as nothing hurts their fragile ego more than realizing they no longer have control over you. When you stop seeking their approval, their power over you dissipates, forcing the narcissist to face a truth they have long evaded. Without the ability to manipulate others, they are left with nothing but themselves. Therefore, if you wish to break their grip on you, start by withdrawing your emotional investment. Allow their words to fall flat. Let their provocations fade into silence. Do not allow yourself to be pulled back into the turmoil they create, for in doing so, you reclaim the one thing they can never take from you: your freedom. Ultimately, the most profound message you can send to a narcissist is this: I am no longer yours to manipulate. Narcissists flourish in chaos. It is their comfort zone, the space where they feel most alive. This is no coincidence. It is a calculated tactic. Chaos keeps you off balance, filled with doubt, and emotionally reactive, which is exactly where they can exert the most influence. When your mental and emotional energy is consumed by the strife they generate, you have little left to question their actions or assert your own limits. This is why introducing clarity, true clarity, into your interactions with a narcissist is such a powerful and unsettling act. It slices through the haze of manipulation and forces them to face a reality they cannot distort to their benefit. Clarity is not just about your words. It is about what you refuse to accept. Narcissists are masters at obscuring boundaries. They rewrite the past to fit their narrative, twist your words to instill doubt, and create confusion even in the simplest of situations. When you bring clarity, you reject their distortions. You cease to engage with their version of reality, a reality that is, by nature, ever-changing and self-serving. Instead, you stand firm in what you know to be true, even as the weight of their chaos lingers in the air. What's truly chilling is this: narcissists are utterly intolerant of unwavering truth. It's akin to holding a mirror to their soul, revealing the one thing they dread most: their own deceit. When you bring clarity to the chaos, you cease to engage with the cacophony and instead focus solely on the stark reality. This requires communicating with chilling precision, devoid of emotional excess. Narcissists thrive on your emotional turmoil, be it rage, confusion, or guilt. And when you respond with calm, factual clarity, you starve them of their sustenance. You strip away the dark power they wield over your distress. For example, if they attempt to gaslight you, distorting reality to make you doubt your own memory, resist the urge to argue or defend yourself endlessly. Simply state the truth once, with an icy firmness, and move on. That's not what happened, and I want to debate it with you. This level of clarity is not just disarming, it sends a shiver down the spine of someone who thrives on controlling the narrative. Another chilling aspect of clarity is the establishment and enforcement of your boundaries. Narcissists are natural boundary violators. They probe your limits not merely to test your resolve, but to erode your very sense of autonomy. The unsettling truth is that they revel in the chaos they create, and your clarity becomes a haunting specter that disrupts their dark game. Each time you bend or give in, they see it as proof that they are in control. Being clear about your boundaries means being firm about what you will and will not accept. It's not about persuading them to treat you with respect they simply want. It's about demonstrating that you value yourself enough to enforce consequences. And this is vital. Clarity without action is hollow. If you declare, "I won't accept disrespect," yet allow their insults to continue, your words become meaningless. However, if you calmly assert your boundary and then act on it, whether by walking away from the conversation or ending the relationship, you send a message that cannot be ignored. The power of clarity lies in its ability to dismantle the narcissist's attempts to create confusion. They will try to provoke you with emotional manipulation or dramatic displays, but if you remain steadfast in your clarity, their tactics lose their sting. This doesn't mean they will cease their efforts. In fact, the clearer you become, the more desperate their attempts to unsettle you may grow. Why? Because your clarity threatens the very core of their control. It forces them to confront the reality that their manipulations no longer affect you, and that realization is terrifying for them. This is where the emotional weight becomes evident. The pain clarity inflicts on a narcissist stems from its ability to strip away their escape from reality. Their behavior is deeply rooted in avoidance, a constant struggle to flee from feelings of inadequacy and shame. In the end, the struggle for clarity can feel like a lonely battle, one that reveals the painful truth of their existence. When you bring clarity, you cut through the illusion they have built around themselves. You refuse to get drawn into their game, which reveals the emptiness at its center. They are aware, whether consciously or not, that without the ability to manipulate you through confusion, they lose the one thing they cannot stand to lose: relevance. What's remarkable about clarity is that it is a tool completely within your control. You don't need their permission to be clear. You don't require their validation to express your truth. You simply choose to stop participating in the emotional tug-of-war they depend on. This choice is transformative, not just in your relationship with the narcissist, but also in how you perceive yourself. By prioritizing clarity, you make a significant statement about your own value. You are declaring, "I will no longer exist in a reality shaped by someone else's dysfunction." And here's the key point: clarity is a continuous practice. Narcissists will test it. They will search for weaknesses. However, the more you commit to it, the stronger it becomes. You will start to recognize their tactics for what they are: desperate attempts to cling to power they no longer have. The more they realize they cannot undermine your clarity, the more powerless they feel. Ultimately, they confront a truth they cannot manipulate. Their control over you is shattered. To dismantle the power of a narcissist, begin by infusing every interaction with stark clarity. Speak your truth unapologetically, establish unyielding boundaries, and above all, resist the pull of the chaos they orchestrate. For when you achieve true clarity, their grip on you begins to fade. And in that newfound lucidity, you uncover a treasure they can never seize: your freedom. Narcissists thrive in a realm of illusions, a meticulously crafted facade designed to conceal the deep-seated insecurities that fester within. They are adept at weaving a web of deception about themselves, their relationships, and their supposed dominion. Yet, there exists a truth they cannot evade: reality is far more potent than any illusion, and nothing strikes deeper terror into a narcissist than the exposure of their lies, especially when that truth shatters the fragile image they labor so diligently to uphold. If you seek to dismantle their power, revealing reality with calm conviction may be your most formidable weapon. At the core of a narcissist's psyche lies a delicate and often profoundly scarred sense of self. This is crucial to grasp. Beneath the veneer of arrogance and manipulation lies a vulnerability so deep it could swallow them whole. They mask their deep-seated vulnerabilities by projecting an illusion of superiority, invincibility, and control. Yet, this facade is as fragile as a spider's web, entirely dependent on the validation of others, on persuading them to buy into the twisted tale they weave. When you refuse to play along, When you lay bare the truth with unwavering clarity, you unveil the chasm between their polished public persona and the dark reality lurking beneath. This revelation is not merely uncomfortable for a narcissist, it is utterly unbearable. One of the most effective ways to achieve this is through relentless honesty. Narcissists flourish in shadows where truth is pliable, where facts can be contorted, memories erased, and perceptions distorted. But the real truth is an unyielding force. By committing to unwavering honesty, you strip them of the murkiness they require to maintain their grip. And here lies the chilling truth. You need not be aggressive or confrontational to shatter their illusion. In fact, the more calm and factual you remain, the more destabilizing it becomes for them. A simple, steady declaration like "I know what happened, and I refuse to be gaslit into doubt" wields immense power. It signals that you are no longer a pawn in their game. Yet, the truth resides not only in your words but also in your actions. Narcissists are skilled at wielding words as weapons, but actions are far more difficult to twist. When your behavior aligns with your truth, it becomes an undeniable force, a haunting reminder of their fragility. When you declare that you will no longer accept disrespect and choose to walk away when it occurs, you reveal their lack of power over you. By disengaging from their emotional turmoil and adhering to your own principles, you demonstrate that their influence no longer dictates your life. This is a manifestation of reality and serves as one of the most effective methods to dismantle their illusions. The painful aspect of reality for a narcissist is that it compels them to face themselves. Their entire psychological defense mechanism is built to evade self-reflection. They shift blame onto others, alter narratives to escape accountability, and create complex rationalizations for their actions. However, when you cease to play along and consistently reflect reality back to them, you push them into a situation where these defenses start to weaken. They are then forced to confront the uncomfortable truth. They desperately try to avoid that their power relies on deception, and without it, they are extremely vulnerable. It's crucial to understand that this process will not be met with acceptance. Narcissists will respond to the unveiling of reality with defensiveness, anger, or attempts to undermine you. This situation is all too familiar because, in their perspective, admitting mistakes or accepting the truth feels like a death sentence. They cannot risk acknowledging reality, as it threatens the fragile identity they have by lieutenant. Your role is not to persuade them or seek their validation. Rather, it is to stay anchored in what is real, regardless of their attempts to twist it. This dedication to truth is not merely about undermining their influence. It is also about reclaiming your own sense of self. Existing in the shadow of a narcissist often leads to a painful form of self-betrayal. You are subtly or overtly pressured to question your own perceptions, stifle your emotions, and accept a reality that caters to their desires while erasing your own existence. By choosing to embrace the truth, you disrupt this toxic cycle. You affirm that your experiences are valid, your feelings are significant, and your reality holds weight. No manipulation can erase that. Here lies a poignant realization: when you commit to living in truth, you become impervious to a narcissist's control. They cannot twist what they cannot touch. They cannot dominate someone who refuses to engage in their game. The more you reflect reality with clarity and consistency, the more powerless they become. Their illusions crumble, not through confrontation, but because truth inherently dismantles deception. This newfound clarity transcends the relationship itself. When you cease to inhabit a distorted reality, your self-perception sharpens, revealing the depth of your own worth. You start to trust your instincts once more, slowly recognizing the ways you were belittled and manipulated, and you resolve to put an end to it. This journey is not merely about escaping the grasp of the narcissist. It's about reclaiming the essence of who you are, free from their deceptive shadows. If you wish to dismantle a narcissist's hold, begin with the truth. Articulate it clearly, act upon it consistently, and resist being pulled into their web of distortions. Ultimately, no matter how intricate their lies may be, authenticity prevails. When you stand resolutely in your truth, you become a force they cannot dominate. Yet, this realization carries a weight of sorrow. The most profound blow to a narcissist's power is not anger, revenge, or confrontation, but rather indifference. Indifference conveys, in the most heart-wrenching manner, that their grip on you has vanished. For a narcissist, nothing is more painful than the awareness that they no longer wield emotional control, that their actions no longer shape your feelings or behavior. They thrive on your attention, whether it be love or anger, admiration or fear. When you withdraw that attention completely, you sever their lifeline, leaving them to face the void they desperately try to escape. The devastation of indifference lies in the very fabric of the narcissistic psyche. Deep down, narcissists grapple with an unstable and fragmented sense of self, and this truth is a haunting reminder of their own emptiness. Their grandiosity and manipulation serve as desperate defenses, a means to uphold a delicate identity that teeters on the brink of collapse. This insatiable need to provoke reactions from others stems from a deep-seated fear. At the heart of the narcissistic psyche lies a shattered and unstable self, constantly at war with its own existence. Each time they ensnare you in their emotional turmoil, they draw a dark satisfaction from the confirmation of their own reality, relishing the power to distort another's perception. But when you turn away, when their venomous words and twisted actions fail to stir any response, they are faced with a chilling truth: their own insignificance and powerlessness. Nothing terrifies a narcissist more than this realization. Indifference is not a mere facade. It is a profound emotional severance, a conscious choice to withdraw your essence from their sinister game. This transformation demands a deep internal shift as much as an external one. You cease the futile arguments, abandon the need for validation, and relinquish any hope of their understanding. By refusing to invest any part of yourself in their dark dance, you reclaim your emotional sovereignty. Yet, this path is fraught with challenges, as the shadows of their influence linger, ever threatening to pull you back into their abyss. It is part of human nature to seek to be heard and understood after experiencing harm. There is an innate desire for justice, an acknowledgement of the pain you have suffered. However, here lies an uncomfortable reality: a narcissist will never provide you with that closure. They lack the psychological capacity to recognize the damage they inflict. Anticipating an apology or yearning for validation keeps you ensnared in their psychological hold. True liberation occurs when you no longer require those things, when their inability to comprehend or validate your suffering becomes insignificant to your healing process. The power of indifference is particularly striking because it completely disrupts the established dynamic. Narcissists thrive on emotional manipulation, leveraging your need for approval, provoking responses, and taking advantage of your vulnerabilities. When those manipulative tactics cease to have an effect, and you respond to their provocations with calm detachment or silence, the very foundation of their power begins to collapse. They find themselves struggling, desperate to reclaim the emotional connection they once dominated. By that time, however, you have already removed yourself from the situation. Moreover, indifference is not solely about the narcissist. It is fundamentally about you. It represents a significant transformation in your identity. When you embrace indifference, you are no longer defined by the relationship. You stop gauging your self-worth through their approval and refuse to let their dysfunction dictate your reality. Instead, you find your footing in something far more formidable: your own values, your own truth, your own haunting vision of who you are, and what your life is destined to become. This isn't the cold indifference born from bitterness or repression. It's the chilling detachment of someone who has transcended the need to prove themselves to those who remain blind to their essence. It's crucial to understand that narcissists cannot endure indifference for long. When they sense their grip on you slipping away, they will often resort to darker tactics. They may unleash cruelty or feign affection, weaving lies or attempting to tarnish your reputation. This is their desperate gambit to ensnare you once more in their sinister web. But here lies the truth: if you maintain your indifference, their efforts will crumble. Your silence becomes a powerful statement, echoing louder than any argument could, declaring that their hold over you is irrevocably shattered. Indifference also serves as a shield for your energy. Interactions with narcissists are draining, as they demand a relentless emotional toll, constantly requiring explanations, defenses, and the management of their volatile moods. Stand firm in your indifference, and watch as their darkness fades into nothingness. When you step away from that toxic dynamic, you create space to focus on what truly matters: your healing, your aspirations, and your connections with those who can genuinely love you back. Over time, this emotional distance allows you to unearth parts of yourself that had been hidden under their shadow. You start to remember what it's like to live without fear, without the relentless emotional chaos, and that sense of freedom feels invaluable. The harsh reality is this: when you become indifferent, you shield yourself from their grasp. No matter how desperately a narcissist tries to pull you back in, they can no longer reach you. Big. Their words lose their sting, their manipulations become ineffective, and ultimately, they are left to face the truth of who they are, a truth they have spent their lives evading. In the end, your indifference is not merely a means of self-defense. It is a bittersweet act of liberation. You break free from their hold, and in doing so, you reclaim the right to a life that is truly yours, even if it comes with a lingering sense of loss.